Hey guys, OGalbina here, bringing you guys another Draft League typing tier list. Today we're going to be talking about one of the coolest but least plentiful typing in the Dragon type. We're going to be going over what I think of these Pokemon in the Draft League metagame and how much value they offer at their price point and if I think they're good or not. Again, there's not that many, so it's going to be a pretty short tier list, but you got to get through it eventually, and it's a pretty cool typing, so you might as well, right? So if you guys do enjoy today's tier list video, be sure to drop a like on the video as well as subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 3,000 subs, and I'd really appreciate you helping me out along getting to that goal. And plus, I wanted to announce as well, channel memberships have been completely revamped. If you want to go check out our community post, I laid it out a little bit more in depth, or you can click the join button down below, and it'll kind of let you know the perks that we're offering. But we're offering some pretty cool stuff, whether it be exclusive content, emotes, badges, a custom role in a Discord server, even at the highest level, some Draft League coaching and advice, whether it be in your builds, looking at your replays, mocking, and things like that. So there's some really cool benefits down there, and if you want to go ahead and get a channel membership, I would appreciate it a ton. It helps the channel out like immensely. You have no idea how much a channel membership will help out. So if you do and are willing and have funds available, I'd appreciate it a ton. And yeah, with that being said, we can jump on into it. Now, like I said, there's not that many dragon types in Gen 9 right now. There really isn't. I think I'm missing one in Walking Wake because I didn't have the sprite for it. But I'll talk about it at the end because, you know, I'll talk about it. But the dragon typing is weird, right? Because you think a lot of times, again, we talked about with water, fire, and grass, those like dragon, fairy, steel cores, or those water, fire, grass cores and things like that, that when you first start playing draft, you're told you need to get these. Dragon is the only one out of the dragon, fairy, steel core that I think you do not need to draft. Now, it ends up usually working out that you try and draft a dragon because typically they're incredible Pokemon, right? They have incredible resistances, they have incredible offensive coverage typically, they typically have very high base stat totals and good abilities and good typings and things like that. So you typically end up wanting one, but don't go into your draft thinking, I need to get a dragon type next, because realistically it's not needed. Now, it might fit on your team, but it's not needed. Now, that being said, we can go ahead and jump on into these guys. First up, we have arguably the best one on this list, and it's going to be Dragonite. Dragonite's going to go in S tier, and I never thought I'd see the day where I say Dragonite is the best Pokemon in Draft League, or debatably the best Pokemon in Draft League, but here it is. I mean, no matter what your Terra rules, if Dragonite can Terra, it's probably the best one that can do it. Whether it be BBR rules, where you can only Terra into like a stab and a non-stab like this season. Amel got like 27,000 kills with this thing because Terra Normal E-Speed is nuts and insane and incredibly strong with Dragon Dance. But even Terra Flying is great. It gives it Flying Stab. Or if you're playing in free Terra, this thing is off the charts. Whether it be Terra Flying or Terra Normal like usual, or Terra Water, which I think is the second best typing outside Normal for it, in all honesty. Terra Fire, Terra Ground, Terra Steel. I've even seen Terra Dragon before. Like, this thing does so many things so well, and when you get rid of that typing, kind of can mold yourself to however you want to use it alongside multi-scale and being a creative builder, this thing can be absolutely incredible. So by far the best Pokemon honestly on this list. So yeah, really critical or incredible. Now, next up we have Altaria, and I'm going to be pretty critical with these dragons because I'm comparing them to each other, and I think that Altaria is probably teetering either bottom of C tier or top of D tier. Now, I do think it has some viability as a defogger, as a weather checker, and that's really it. Defensively, it's okay. I think Perish Trapping sets, if it can still do that, are pretty okay. Fire Spin is a really cool option for it, so if it can, Fire Spin plus Perish Song this generation, I think it can. It can be pretty cool that way, but it's like, it's a tough typing to have with terrible base stats, right? Because that ice coverage that those water types are going to be covering, or, you know, really anything that you're trying to check is going to be covering potentially, really just makes you invalid as a defensive check in a lot of instances. There are some things you can check very well. I remember in a mock one time for Tiro when he was playing against a Palafin BBRD League, I ended up bringing like a defensive Altaria because I knew he could not fit Ice Punch, and I did wallet with the Altaria. But outside of instances like that, I can't say that this Pokemon is particularly amazing, if that makes any sense. So next up, we have my boy, my favorite Pokemon of all time. Unfortunately, he is not the best dragon flying type in this generation, which we've gone over 3 already, but he's not the best. He's gonna go right here in A tier. This Pokemon, I still think Mence is incredible. I think if you do have the opportunity to Terra it and there's something else in your team that doesn't want it more, this thing can be really strong. It kept dual wing beat, which was really clutch for it, like absolutely incredible for it. Terra flying sets can be really strong. I've seen Terra Steel do work. I've seen Terra Ground do work. I've seen so many, even like Terra Electric seems pretty darn cool. This thing can be physical, it can be special, it can be really bulky, it can be really offensive, it can be mixed, it can do so many different things, and I think it's obviously not as good as D-Knight, but it's just as versatile if you want to use it that way. Sorry, there's some shenanigans out there. I was just making sure that nobody was making any. Sorry, I said my little brother was crying, but he's laughing. We're good, no worries. But Mence, like I said, by far one of my favorite Pokemon, or my favorite Pokemon. It's still really good this gen. I think it obviously gets overshadowed by D-Knight like a crazy amount, whereas before it was only a little bit. But now it's pretty darn substantial. Next up, we have the Garchomp, and I'm gonna go ahead for now. I think put Garchomp at the front of A tier. I know that's a little controversial because Garchomp is by far an S tier Pokemon and like a top 5 Pokemon in the format in Generation 8. I think losing Scale Shot really hurt its offensive capability and its capability of winning games on its own. Now, support Chomps are much more better, and Garchomp facilitates teams so much better this generation with the addition of spikes to its move pool. Absolutely incredible. It can still function offensively in that Choice Scarf role, in that Swords Dance role, and that Stealth Rocker role, but now it can also spike, it details things around, it can be Ruskin Rocky Helmet, it can do so many different things, but it's much more of a team player this generation, and I consider Garchomp a round 2 pick in Paldea decks, personally. So I think for that reason, I have to put it in A tier. I think it's definitely better than Ment, and it's probably a Pokemon that could do well with Terra, but I don't think I can put it above A tier, if that makes any sense. Next up, we're going to rock out with Big Haxorus, and this one's another toughie. I think I'm actually going to put this thing in C tier. I think I am, which is pretty tough because, again, offensively incredible, and I've kind of beaten a dead horse with this thing. Whether it be Dragon Dance or Swords Dance, Terra Fighting, Terra Steel has been incredible from what I've seen, or even Terra Dragon, or just like a defensive typing that allows you to set up. This thing can be absolutely phenomenal with a Terra on it. Now, it's tough trying to justify a Terra on your Baxcalibur, on your Haxorus, when you have higher tiered options that can Terra, but I think if you find the opportunity to, it makes Haxorus incredibly better and immensely better, and you might be playing in a league that bans Terra on most of the top tier mods, and Haxorus is a very viable option for you in the mid tiers, so I would definitely think about it, and I don't think this Pokemon is bad. It is just so much worse at what it does than the Pokemon that are going to be above it, personally, for me, so yeah, I'm going to put it in C tier. I might move it to low B tier. Again, we're going to adjust as we go and see what we want to do. Next up, another Fallen from Grace Pokemon, Hydreigon. It's crazy because if it just kept Roost, it would be tenfold better than it was last generation, with access to Terra, with access to Stealth Rock around, which I've never run this PBR season, but I do think it's pretty cool. It can be physical, special, mixed. Most of it's going to lean special, but it can't be mixed. It gets U-Turn, it gets Nasty Plot, it gets Dragon Dance. And before, it had Roost and Defog. Now, it lost Defog and Roost. Defog's not the biggest deal in the world. It sucks, but losing Roost is really tough because Hydreigon has some incredible defensive stats if you invest properly and use it that way. And now, it kind of lost that ability to do so. You're forced to run, like, Assault Vest sets if you want to be a spin-off check. To certain things, which... it's pretty cool, but like it's obviously a downgrade, unfortunately, for Big Hydreigon. So I think it has to move down here to B tier. It is a league below things like Mence and Garchomp, in my opinion. Still very good, but definitely below them for me. Okay, next up we have Dragalge. Hot take, I'm gonna put Dragalge in B tier. Maybe it's because I've keep playing it in draft recently, and it's just such a nuisance to switch into with the adaptability. Poison plus Dragon typing. The thing that really takes that on is going to be Steels, but you catch a stray Focus Blast, or if you're a Ground Steel type and you catch a stray Surf or something of the sorts, you're getting nuked. It's a great T-Spiker. It's a great AV pivot like Spadef Wall / tank, and it's a great breaker if you position it well, and for its price point, how cheap it is consistently, I think Dragalge is an incredible Pokemon. So I think it is definitely worthy of the B tier for me. Absolutely worthy of the B tier. It might be towards the bottom of B tier, but I would rather draft a good Dragalge than a Haxorus in most instances, is another way of putting it, I guess. Okay, next up we have Noivern. Noivern's going to go in B tier. Again, for that mid-tier range, this Pokemon's incredible. It is one of the few defoggers in the game, incredibly fast, decently strong too, with its dual stab of Dragon Flying plus the fire coverage. I think with the Terra Boom Burst sets are really, really scary for some teams to deal with. It's those Terra Normals, man, which is crazy because Normal's not even considered a good typing on its own. The Terra Normal can be absolutely devastating on this Pokemon with Throat Spray, with Specs, or even with like Boots, just having the Terra Normal option or just Terra Flying to nuke through things. I think Noivern's actually incredible. I think it's one of the best generations for it like it's ever been. I think maybe Gen 7 when it could Z-move, you could say it's better, I guess. But this gen, I don't know. I feel like there's more options and it's still so good. So I think I have to, put it. This is probably its best gen so far. It's probably got to be its best gen so far. So yeah. Next up, we have a Goodra here. Goodra is going to go right here in C tier. I'm actually a big Goodra hater. Fun fact. I am not a big fan of it in draft. I want to give it a shot because it's been a couple years since I've tried it. But as, despite all of its coverage and all of its SPDF bulk, it seems to kind of just suck up space in the sense that it loses a lot of momentum. And when you know it's coming, it's not as obnoxious to break. Typically, the special wall breakers can slot in one mixed coverage move, and you're getting 3-8 KO'd by it, and you're not checking it very well. You're kind of forced into AV sets a lot, where you can't use offensive Goodra to the highest of its capabilities. So it's personally a C tier Pokemon for me. I don't think it's bad, but I'm really not too big or fond of it. I am, however, going to go ahead and try and I'm going to put Hisuian Goodra a little bit higher, just because the Dragon Steel typing is so incredible. Now, I could be completely wrong, and the Soul Read could be pretty terrible, but I really do feel like that Pokemon is going to be very solid. With the Dragon Steel typing, plenty more resistances. It does gain that fighting and that ground weakness, which is pretty common, but potentially, as long as we're having other things to take those on, you're completely fine. And it's not like Goodra was taking Earthquakes in close combats anyways, you know what I mean? Plus this Goodra, I think, might have a little bit more defense. I'm not 100% sure, but with its coverage that Goodra has, plus the better typing and things like that, I think this Pokemon's going to be incredible. I think it's much better. So I'm definitely a big fan of the Hisuian Goodra here, and we're definitely going to rock out with it in the B tier. Now, we've been talking about incredible dragons, right, this entire time, and we finally got to some terrible ones. We finally did. It's weird, because this last 6 here are just the complete opposite of each other. Flapple is a pretty terrible Pokemon. I think it might be interesting with like Terra Fire, but I'm never spending my Terra points on something or wasting my Terra Captain on something like a Flapple in a draft league format, because like there's so many better things. Unless you're playing like low tier, you have leftover Terra points in there giving it to you, and you're like, okay, why not try Flapple? Even then, Hustle's so unreliable. It's a very one-trick Pokemon. It's not very fast, so a lot of Scarfers outspeed it, even when it gets up to +1, so not the biggest Flapple guy. Appletun is actually a Pokemon I do enjoy. I'm going to put it at the top of D tier. I have drafted it before. It's like a very budget ground resist. It can be pretty annoying. Thick, fat, lead seed. Apple Acid is a really strong move. It's a good pivot. Not that bad of a Pokemon, but compared to the other dragons here, it is pretty darn terrible. Okay, next up, we have Dragapult. I'm going to put Dragapult at the top of S. I know I just talked about Dragonite potentially being the best Pokemon in the format, but I think that if Dragapult is allowed to Terra, it is better than it. It is just better than it, in my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in S tier. This Pokemon is so unbelievably good with Terra Ghost, Terra Fire. That's all you need. So no matter what the rules, if you can just do 2 typings, Terra Ghost and Terra Fire, you're chilling. Now, if you can do more than that, obviously even better. But Terra Ghost for physical sets, Terra Ghost for special sets, mixed sets, DD, band, specs, boots, spread status, can bulky, can be offensive. There's so many things this thing can do, and that 142 speed tier that it has, alongside its incredible move pool, is just unguardable, almost. It is absolutely unguardable. So this Pokemon, with Terra, kind of filling out that last little gap in its move pool, and that physical Ghost Stab, and that physical Fire move, if it is Terra Fire, on top of being Stab, then this Pokemon is absolutely nuts. So I'm a big Dragapult fan, and I think it's by far the best Pokemon in the format. That's just me, though. Okay. Next up, I'm going to put the last terrible Pokemon down here, just so we don't have to talk about bad Pokemon anymore. We can end on a high note. I'm going to go ahead and put Tatsugiri here. Probably above Flapple in D tier. Not a good Pokemon at all. It does get spin, though. Decent typing, recover, nasty plot. So, like, Surf plus Draco Meteor sets and, like, nasty plot, and then recover or rapid spin can do some work. But again, it's really hard to justify drafting this thing. So I personally probably never will. Or I'll at least never use it if I draft it for 5 points or whatever it's worth. This last is going to be Roaring Moon and Baxcalibur, and I'm really struggling on where I want to put these Pokemon, because at their peaks and their high sides and their ups, they're really good, but at their low sides, they can be pretty underwhelming. This is really going to hurt me, huh? It's really gonna hurt me. I'm putting Roaring Moon at the top of A instead of S. Now, again, I think this Pokemon has the potential to be an S tier Pokemon, and I think it needs to be a Terra Captain in order to function well. Because those Terra Dark sets that are Choice Band and Crunch to it KOing the Resist, or those Terra Flying Acrobatic sets with Booster Energy, Dragon Dancing Up, are all going to be absolutely incredible when compounded by that mechanic. Without it, it is incredibly mediocre. It is worse than the other A tiers without it. But I think it really teeters that line of A and S tier, and so does the Baxcalibur that we're going to put in S tier, which is crazy because I would have nowhere near put this before this last BBR season. But the more and more I see this thing used, the more and more I realize that it is absolutely cracked and damn near broken with Terra. We just saw Terra Dragon and Electric, which is really the only types that it needs, go absolutely crazy. But I've seen Terra Fire, I've seen Terra Ground, I've seen Terra Ice even. I've seen Terra Fairy to set up on things that typically think they can kill it. Like, this thing has done so much work for Jayberry and really has done so much work in any league that I've seen. I don't think I can put this thing anywhere but S tier, and it's actually a Pokemon that is 100% on my radar for next BBR season. It is the Pokemon I want to try with Terra the most by far. So I'm really excited to hopefully get to try it soon because it looks awesome. Alrighty, with that being said though, that's our dragons. Let me know what you guys think, if you agree, disagree, all that good stuff. I think my list is pretty good. There might be a few hot takes in there, but pretty tame stuff otherwise. Drop a like if you enjoyed. Please consider becoming a channel member. Like I said, you just click the little join button right down there to give you some cool perks. You can join the Discord server and show off your badge, and potentially get some draft help if you do the Salamence level tier, which is pretty cool. And yeah, and get early content. So yeah, with that being said, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.